Benefit of others that can also watch afterwards. So thank you for taking the time today. My name is Rosa Vargas, Corporate Affairs and Engagement Manager for L'Oréal Caribe. I'm pleased to be here with you to share more information about our program, the Young Talents Caribbean Region, L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science. I am joined by our colleagues and partners for this program for the Caribbean region. I'd like to welcome Mr. Alibek Otambero, and I apologize if I did not pronounce your last name correctly, but please join us and giving us a warm welcome for this session.
Thank you, Rosa. It's great. Yeah, you pronounced it correctly. My name is Alibek Otambekov, and I am the program specialist for the natural science sector in the UNESCO program for the Caribbean. And it's a great pleasure and anticipation that we have embarked this another inspiring journey with the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in the Science program. So this initiative was born as a part of the partnership between the L'Oréal and UNESCO, and it has been instrumental in recognizing and celebrating the exceptional achievement of young women researchers in the Caribbean region. And in our inaugural year in 2023, we witnesses of the incredible talent of dedication of women scientists in the Caribbean, and we acknowledge the role of L'Oréal and partnership with UNESCO in shaping this fellowship program in the region, and we are committed to articulating the strengthening its contribution with a specific focus on elevating the profile of Caribbean women in science. And I extend my warm welcome to all participants here, and may your journey will be filled discovery, innovation, and empowerment and inspiration. And happy to be here today with you and open to discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alibek, for that warm welcome. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Dion Asley. She's the Communications Officer for the UNESCO Office for the Caribbean. Thank you. She will be supporting us in moderating the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will have plenty of time towards the closing of the session for a Q&A session. I'd also like to welcome and acknowledge the presence of our special guest today, Ms. Sunshine Dicarius. She is the 2023, one of the two 2023 honorees for our Young Talents program. We will hear more from her towards the second half of this session. So thank you, Sunshine, for joining us today. Now, I'd love to start us off by watching a video about the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science program and what the impact has been over the last 25 years.
Hi, Rosa. Not hearing the sound.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try one more time with audio. If not, I'm using the browser version for Zoom, and I know that it's not necessarily going to work the same way as the app. I'm not seeing the version for the button for sharing audio. So my apologies for that. Perhaps we can share the link afterwards for the video. Let me share one more time. Share sound, here it is. I just found it. You should be able to hear it now. One more time. Can you hear now? The audio?
We're seeing the presenter screen now, not the presentation mode.
Well, we did hear the audio though.
But
Oh,
yes,
that's a
yes.
great advance. One step ahead. I think you should see it now.
Perfect, Rosa.
What about now? Can you see just the screen for
Yes,
presenter?
it's good.
Fabulous. Okay, let's go into the video, hopefully with sound now. So, on the video for over the last 25 years, Fundación L'Oréal and UNESCO for Women in Science program have worked to empower women scientists. It's a celebration of 25 years of working together and over a visionary partnership that has placed the issue of gender equality in science high on the international agenda by highlighting the work of many outstanding women scientists, accelerating women's pathway to leadership in science, and inspiring the next generation of women researchers. This forms part of the Fundación L'Oréal's long-standing commitment to supporting women's rights and fighting for gender equality, and contributed to the advancement of the gender equality as a global UNESCO priority. Now, more on what we will see during today's session. We're going to talk a little bit about key figures, both globally and on a local scale here in the Caribbean. We're going to understand a little bit more about women's obstacles in scientific careers and what the studies have found over the last few years in terms of the scope that we address with the program. We're going to also speak a little bit about the consequences and opportunities, our actions in partnership, and focuses on our awards program. Now, first of all, there is an understanding that the gender equality challenge represents that women in science are still highly underrepresented, yet we need their talent and perspectives more than ever to deliver gender equal solutions to the great social, economic, and environmental challenges we face today. As you see here on screen, we cannot say it enough, the world needs science and science needs women. The percentage of women researchers worldwide has risen just 6% to 27% in the 90s to 33% today. Indeed, women pursuing scientific careers still face numerous challenges, and only a small portion hold leadership positions, preventing women from directing important scientific research and creating few role models for younger generations. We see that the 33% share of women is a global rate. We also would like to mention and give context to our local, of course, region here in the Caribbean. Based on feedback and input that we have received from our partners at the UNESCO Office in the Caribbean, it looks more like a 50% for the Caribbean islands. It's a little bit more balanced in this region of the world. However, we do know, of course, that the challenge and access to resources is a big reality in our area of the world, and it's very particular, of course, with all the scenarios that we can have and we can find here in the Caribbean, from the challenges we have to face with consequences from climate change, of course, and the access to resources, and the many opportunities that we have to continue to really support and engage directly to the communities at large, and a community-based resilience, creating resiliency and supporting the communities here in the Caribbean region. So when we look at the intervention and where is the dropout specifically, we see that the intervention should happen when it happens after the PhD degree. It's often a bit too late. And so that we can see here in this slide where it's showing where we have this greater, the gap starts to happen at the PhD degree or equivalent level. And then after the research career, top academic positions, and even at a global price level, we see where the gap is a lot greater. So it's persistent between men and women graduates at the doctoral level and beyond. We do see that there is more equal footing during the university careers, and also women making up a slightly larger share of graduates with bachelors, but we do again see that gap is persistent further after the doctoral level. Understanding women's obstacles in scientific careers, we can see here that our global analysis on gender disparities highlights different barriers according to the different life stages, right? So childhood and adolescence to emerging through your adulthood, or early to middle adulthood and professional life. There is no single cause that creates this leaky pipeline of girls and women from STEM fields, yet at various life stages, depending on distinct social and psychological aspects, of course. And we see how these factors may create or magnify the situation. For example, in 3 different cultures, we can see interaction of the scientific culture, the academic culture, and the societal culture. Now, 2 themes that are common to all of these developmental stages. First of all, in the cultural stereotype, we see that consistently there is a representation that represent ideal scientists, engineers, and tech innovators are male. And the mismatch between masculine and STEM stereotypes and feminine gender role expectation create barriers for girls and women's participation in STEM at every single life stage. Now, a second common theme we see across all life stages is feelings of belonging in one's intellectual community. Girls are bombarded with messages that signal they do not belong to STEM career tracks. We see that studies observe that these doubts about belonging affect women's achievements, engagement, and persistence in STEM. They often wonder if their abilities, interests, and aspirations are compatible with STEM. Learning environments and professional environments that foster belonging are far more likely to be successful in recruiting, retaining, and advancing girls and women in STEM than environments that feel more exclusive and homogeneous. Here we see some examples. This is in terms of research bias. For example, in medicine specifically, for decades, doctors proceeded to half as many cardiovascular disease exams on women than on men. We see that in the US, researchers had to recall 8 out of 10 drugs when they reported trials to include women. In terms of workplace, current offices that are on average 5 degrees too cold for women. Women tend to have a lower tolerance of chemical as they absorb them differently, yet chemicals are still usually tested in isolation and on the bias of single exposure. And on AI, we see voice recognition software is often more male biased. Also, when the recruitment system in tech jobs, we see that it tends to favor men over women. And we can also see some, probably some examples here in the Caribbean as well. These are examples at a global scale. In terms of the disproportion in scientific recognition, we know that, of course, 4%, the global percentage of Nobel Prizes are women. Only 4 representing physics, 8 representing chemistry, and 12 psychology or medicine. So this is, an indicator that women are overrepresented as recipients of prizes mainly awarded for non-research reasons, including advocacy, education, mentoring, support, teaching, and public service. But we do see that there is a great disproportion in scientific recognition at the Nobel Prize level. I do recall seeing on the video towards the beginning, of course, that we have had laureates for the For Women in Science program that have received the Nobel Prize, at least 2 of them. So that's a great recognition to women in science at this level. Yet we would love to see, of course, more women receiving Nobel Prize in research. In terms of opportunities of better inclusion, there are many, of course, including positive impact on economic growth, where science can be a social elevator for women, to promote faster innovation and greater performance. More inclusive research is definitely beneficial to all for many, many reasons. For women empowerment, of course, and a huge need of skilled workers in the coming years. So what is L'Oréal and UNESCO in this partnership doing to support and to make an impact at global scale and also locally, looking at these figures? And what are the proposals that we put together in terms of the 5 major stakes or 5 major pillars of action towards this great opportunity to support women in science? Number 1 is to identify scientific role models, and we do this through the international awards and also through the national and regional Young Talents program that we have now in the Caribbean region. Number 2 is to document and create the emergency sharing, of course, improving these highlights and data statistics that we are sharing and really identifying what's the opportunity within our local context as well. Number 3 is to boost women leadership and network, of course, by offering leadership training programs, mentoring actions, and networking, and creating this community platform. Number 4 is working on systemic barriers in institutions. The Fundación has the initiative for women in science and through research and studies. And number 5 is to create vocation and fight against self-censorship through the For Girls in Science program, which is also the component, of course, for young girls to create vocation for science at high school level. We're very proud that here in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico has been the first country outside of France to implement the For Girls in Science program in its new format. This year, we have graduated the 2nd cohort. In total, we have 40 girls that have received and have been beneficiary of this program. And we're excited to see other projects across the Caribbean walking in their footsteps, for example, that can be support also to young women and For Girls in Science programs. And of course, all of this is underlined with public speaking and constant ongoing communications always on plan, of course, and strategy to continue to, create awareness and continue to boost and promote the cause of for women in science. With focus on our awards program specifically, again, as I said earlier, only 3% of Nobel Prizes, that's approximately 20 females for every 579 men receiving the Nobel Award. We see that, and we see how this also acts in terms of different career steps for women in science, starting at the bachelor or equivalent level. Of course, again, as I just mentioned, creating vocation for science in girls during the period of orientation and choice, which is through high school. So that's the first component, or that first step. Then we can see how girls choose to continue, or young talents continue towards their master's degree or equivalent. And then the next intervention for women in science programs would be at the PhD degree or equivalent level through the Young Talents Program, supporting and encouraging careers and early career at doctor and postdoc level, which is the program that we're discussing today for the Caribbean region. Then afterwards, we see they continue hopefully into their research career further into top academic positions, where the Fundación L'Oréal and UNESCO come together for the international awards to identify and make role models more visible by enhancing exceptional career paths. And that's the international awards, which is held every year for 5 eminent scientific women and academics in the 5 regions of the world. Some of the key figures to date for women in science programs globally have impacted with more than 4,100 alumni. 127 those are laureate at the international awards level. More than 4,100 young talents, 2 of those in the Caribbean as of last year, more than 252 dotations per year awarded to doc and postdoc students, 53 national and regional programs. The Caribbean region program is the 53rd, and it's the 2nd largest regional program in the world. With more than 134 countries covered, with over 500 scientific experts involved in the selection worldwide, and over 51 scientific institutions involved. This program has increased the visibility and helping to advance the career for women in science. We are seeing that according to the alumni network, it has contributed to retaining women's talent in science, with 97% of alumni still working in science-related fields. So this is a great accomplishment. We see here that, of course, each year the program celebrates and rewards 5 outstanding women at the laureate level, as I was mentioning. This is our laureate from Cuba, 2022, our first Caribbean laureate at the international level, with Professor Maria Guzman Tirado. She's a virologist based in La Habana, Cuba. At this level, from one of the 5 regions, every year this award is celebrated at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. Over the summer in science, life sciences or physical sciences, mathematics, and computer science. It's a nomination-based program, and the winners receive a dotation of 100,000 euro. Now, for us locally here in the region, we have as it's highlighted here, we have the regional program that awards 2 young talents, and this is specifically for our 2024 edition. We want to thank, of course, our 4 Caribbean partners. It's a partnership between L'Oréal Caribe, UNESCO Cluster Office for the Caribbean that's joining us today, the Caribbean Academy of Science, which their participation is to put together the jury that evaluates the candidacy of our participants for each year. And this year, the first time, we have the AAAS Caribbean Division, which is based in Puerto Rico, and who we are partnering with for the award ceremony this year. So we thank all the partners that bring this program to life here in the Caribbean. We believe that it's very important to bring this opportunity to support young research in the Caribbean. And that's the main reason, of course, and the main objective for us to support and to really recognize and award two young talents with $10,000. This endowment is awarded to encourage young researchers currently in doctoral, postdoctoral studies in early stage of their scientific research career. The application is open and available until May 27th, end of day. One of the important requirements is to be a national of one of the 24 participating countries and territories in the Caribbean region. You must be enrolled and carrying out your doctorate in a lab, research institute, higher education institution in one of the 24 countries and territories, and conducting research in one of the scientific fields listed for the program. This is what the platform looks like online. It's a pretty easy to navigate. Going into forwomeninscience.com, you can see through the global map where we are settled in the Caribbean, and you can apply here. And this is what the program looks like. We will share the link through the chat so that you can navigate the page and you can place your applications online before May 27th. So this is the 24 islands that are eligible to participate in our Caribbean region program. This information is also available on the website, including the eligible disciplines, all the disciplines, math, computer innovation, science, chemistry, physics, all life and environmental sciences, engineering sciences, and technology are applicable for the program. I'd like to recognize the 2023 honorees for a Caribbean region program, Dr. Sarah Buckland. She is from Jamaica and she has a PhD in geography from the UE. And also, of course, recognize Ms. Sunshine de Cadiz. She is from Trinidad and Tobago, coming from UE as well. In tropical earth and environmental science. She is joining us today, but before I turn it over to her and to hear a little bit more about her experience, I'd like to share her video for the award ceremony with everyone today on the call.
Hi, my name is Sunshine de Cadiz. I'm currently a laboratory technician at the Department of Food Production in the Faculty of Food and Agriculture in the University of the West Indies in Augusta campus. My research focuses on modeling the spatial and temporal trends of soil quality indicators in small island tropical watersheds, particularly in the northern range of Trinidad. The ultimate goal is to create a sustainable future where the impacts of climate change are minimized. The inclusion of women in science ensures that the full spectrum of talent is harnessed, which leads to a more well-rounded, equitable scientific community. The world needs science, and science needs women.
Sunshine, are you here? Can you hear me?
Hi, Rosa. Yeah.
Hi, feel free to unmute and you can open your camera. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm okay. Just a day at work.
Wonderful. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you and to everyone on the call. A few questions, Sunshine, that I'd love to ask for the benefit of all those joining us today. How did you learn about the For Women in Science program?
If I remember correctly, my department sent out a blast email that targeted eligible either students or eligible researchers within the department. Yeah. So it was basically through my department, which is the Department of Food Production.
It's great to hear that because when we speak to some of our alumni, they mention, having some of their team, their network, their support system, their professors, their mentors that reach out to them. So it's always interesting to hear how you come across the program because it's very important in terms of the awareness and having, the opportunity to be able to apply to this type of programs. So how has the For Women in Science Award impacted you personally?
So for me personally, first impact is it actually made me think of some of the gender disparities that exist. Because I think coming from Trinidad, I have not really had much issues in terms of pursuing what I want to pursue. Of course, I'm in a very male-dominated field, and I think it's more leans towards women thinking that they're not capable rather than being discouraged. So yeah, so when I entered into this sort of research, the university was, well, my department and supervisors were kind enough to offer whatever assistance to facilitate my research because yeah, I work in the bush. Like I need male companions to help me with a lot of the heavy lifting, I should say. So yeah, that was one impact, and the other impact is it actually made me talk about my work a lot more because I pretty much just publish and do not do any speaking engagements. So now I'm forced to talk and I converse about my work. So it gave me a lot more exposure and helped me, help train me in terms of media and yeah, having to navigate this entire thing through media now. Yeah.
That's amazing, and congratulations on your publication, Sunshine.
Thank
I
you.
do remember speaking to you just last year with our initial conversation when you said, I'm a lot more shy, or in that sense, a lot more reserved in that aspect. And I think that we have seen you really naturally, in a very natural way, and with of course the experiences that you've had through the program and exposure in speaking engagements, and we're very excited that you had the opportunity to visit the UNESCO headquarters in Paris for the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, as part of as a result of receiving this recognition. How was that experience for you in the panel?
Oh, it was really good. Like I was nervous, of course, because again, I don't like to be the center of attention too much, but it was very fulfilling to like answer some of the questions coming from the target audience who were high school girls, basically, and listening to some of their concerns and queries and stuff like that. And one thing that came up is a lot of them felt like they had, in terms of confidence, they were asking questions about like, how do I get my confidence up? Because I think men have a natural confidence and vibrato to them, and women have to kind of find their own, and it comes a little later in life. So it was interesting to see that they recognize that, they need a certain level of confidence to be successful and go forward and that sort of thing.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that in terms of the empowerment and how you see that confidence that is built through this platform, and in seeing other women that I'm sure that were very inspiring for you in the process. What would you recommend to future candidates that future, colleagues, other students, your friends, people that that would be interested in applying to the For Women in Science program?
So I've been advocating because I want my department to bring home another award. So I've been staunchly advocating within my circles, and telling them like, just apply, like, even if you don't get it this year, you may get it next year. Like, try to build your CV as much as possible. Try to do as much, like, I always emphasize publications. I think that was one of the reasons why I was selected. So yeah, I tell them, build your CV, try to publish, and apply. You never know. The next winner could be amongst them.
That's great advice. I think that, and I'm very much aligned with you, and just apply, because of course, like you say, if it doesn't happen for you next year, you can learn through the experience on as far as what the application process, what what the requirements are, and in seeing you as an example, of course, to other young women. I think it's a great testament to what the program can do to continue to empower and to support your research career. So one more question is, what has been your favorite part of this experience?
I'm not sure. I mean, I remember the entire experience very fondly. I think my favorite part was probably getting the opportunity to go to Paris. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Paris? That was like one of my favorite parts of the experience. But I think I remember everything that came with it as fond. So the entire experience was good for me.
Thank you so much, Sunshine, for sharing your experience, and for being a role model for other young women and girls in science to follow in your footsteps. Those were my questions, but of course, we're going to move on into the Q&A session right now as we finalized the presentation, so that we can ask you more questions from the audience. I will close by stating, inclusion is the only way forward in delivering solutions to the pressing challenges of our time, from resource scarcity and climate change to social inequality, pandemics, and the rise of artificial intelligence. Yet there's so much more to do to advance gender equality in science. Above all, as a society, we must invest in the education of girls and encourage them to dream of becoming scientists, to know that it is possible and will deliver a flourishing career. We want to catalyze a cultural transformation and shape a world where both girls and boys have the right to pursue science to the highest level, including through our For Girls in Science programs. By continuing to promote women's rights and support a more equitable representation of women in science, we remain committed to achieving the goal of gender equality in science for women scientists in the Caribbean, worldwide, and for the benefit of science. So thank you. I will now open it up for questions. So this second half of the last part of the presentation, I'm here to answer any questions from the program, the application process itself, and Sunshine may answer also any questions that any of the participants on the call today may have. I don't know if there's any questions on the chat. Perhaps Dion, if you could check for us, or
Sure,
any
there
of the
are.
participants. All right, go ahead.
So there is a question for Sunshine, and it's from Adrienne. She's asking, were there any unexpected requirements or benefits of being an awardee? That's the first one. She has another one.
So any unexpected requirements, I actually found the application process was very simple. I think I applied within a day or two, and yeah. So I didn't find it particularly difficult. It was really straightforward. I think I had an issue in submitting, and I just reached out to Rosa, and they resolved it within a day or two. And yeah, that was my experience there. And any unexpected benefits, if you're into press, you get a lot of attention. I mean, they still call me for interviews. So yeah, it's a benefit if you like spin it. Like if you take advantage of it, it can definitely help propel your career.
Thanks, Sunshine. I think this question is for Rosa. It says, what about the mechanics of the grant award? Do the funds pass through, for example, UE, if you're coming from the university, and are they entitled to a percentage?
No, the award, the dotation itself goes directly into your bank account. It goes into your personal use. This is a grant to support you in your career. This is not for lab tech equipment or for the university. It is a personal grant to support you in your needs in your career, whether it's for, you know, to support you with travel, with caregiver responsibilities, with again, it comes to, there is a part in the application process where it speaks about the budget. What are you going to, what are your specific needs in terms of this financial contribution and support? But this again is a personal grant to support you in your career. It does not go to your university or to your laboratory. It goes to the candidate. So thank you for that question. I hope it clarifies.
It does. She said she did respond. And then there's another question from Andresa. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I think it's for Sunshine. It says, sometimes I'm a bit wary to submit applications to these types of programs because there seems to be a priority given to natural or life sciences versus computer science. What can you say to me or others like me?
Well, I am from the natural sciences and not the computer sciences, so I'm not sure what I can say, but again, I think based on what I've heard, that it's really merit-based. So publications, if you're in computer science, I mean, just publish. They cannot look at your CV and see all that you have done and say, oh, because you're from computer science, you know, they won't choose you. So I think it's really merit-based, and buff up your CV as much as possible. And I think everybody has a fair shot.
I will add, and thank you to Sunshine's point. It is merit-based, and again, as much as robust as you can position your candidacy, that is great. Our jury is an expert panel, and they are matched with you know, the different scientific fields that they're dedicated to, but there is a very fair, a very objective opportunity for all STEM fields to apply. So in terms of there being any preference for one or the other, there is not. If naturally we receive more candidates from some of the fields or others, that's it depends on the outreach and the candidates that we receive, but there is no inclination towards any specific fields for the Young Talents Program in the Caribbean. The international award, which is more for the more advanced academic level, they do have a rotation every year for the scientific fields that are recognized for that year. But that is not the mechanic for our Young Talent Caribbean Region program. Again, it's open to all fields of science, and we welcome you to apply. Just making sure that, of course, that you follow the requirements, which are posted on the rules and regulations on the website for womeninscience.com. If you go into the Young Talents Region, Caribbean Region application, it's all there, and we will make sure to follow up to the participants on this call so that you can receive all the information to apply. Thank you for that question.
Thanks, Rosa. Adrienne does have a challenge with registering, so I'm gonna ask if it's possible for you to connect with her She's
Sure.
getting an error for the registration platform. So
Okay.
we could connect with her offline to see if we can resolve that.
Perfect.
Sure.
Yes, I'll share my email, and if she can send us a screenshot description of the error that she's seeing. So
Okay.
that will help. Make sure that it's the right link where you're applying to for womeninscience.com on the Young Times Caribbean call for applications. We'll get in touch with you.
Sure. So Princess Belle noted that she had submitted last year, but she did not hear whether or not the application was accepted. Maybe we could talk through how responses are given once persons apply, just to clarify if there are any misunderstandings.
No worries, no misunderstanding. It's the application, once it closes, the candidates will be evaluated by our jury. If you were not selected, please apply again this year. We do hope to receive your application once again, as it will be evaluated in this new program this year without necessarily taking consideration last year. Just make sure to update your profile. But we do invite you to apply one more time this year. Thank you.
And another question regarding the numbers of candidates or applicants that we had last year.
We received over 30 applications from 7 different Caribbean countries last year.
All right, thank you so much, Rosa and Sunshine. That's the questions that I see in the chat. I'm inviting anybody who has any additional questions, or if you need any additional responses, you can either drop them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dion, for moderating the Q&A session. We will make sure to send after the participants the link with the application platform, the rules and regulations, and the contact email where you can reach us in case you have any more questions. Even if you had come up with a question after this info session, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to respond to any inquiries. And thank you so much, Sunshine, for joining us today, for taking the time. It's always great to keep in touch with you and hear what you're up to. I continue to wish you much success and congratulations again. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks again, Rosa. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.